So assume the question is how to find the source for the water surface elevation label on the firm panels or the map. So if we have the spatial data of the map updating projects, in this case like I have here, there are a few layers we can quickly add to GIS. In my case it is ArcMap. So I have the S-firm panel layer added, which gives me the panel boundary and panel number, the flood hazard area, which gives me the floodplain, and of course the cross-section layer, as well as profile baseline, which tells me the name of the stream that I'm looking at. The cross-section layer obviously is the most crucial. That's what's shown on the map and labeled with water surface elevations, which is stored in this particular field, WSEL_REG, water surface elevation regulatory. So that should be 1 to run correspondent with the label you see on the map. What I do want to point out is that not every cross-section in the database that we see here is actually shown on the map. So only a subset of the cross-section are shown. For example, all the cross-sections for Zone A areas are not shown on the map. And even Zone A areas, we may have, for example, a number of continuous cross-sections or adjacent cross-sections. They all have the same water surface elevation. There's no point showing every one of them, so we may choose to show the one that's most upstream and the one that's most downstream. All the middle ones with the same water surface elevation likely will not be shown. So you need to pay attention to that when you're trying to associate what's on the map, the cross-section on the map, with what you have in the database. Make sure don't get thrown off by that. Because the only thing that the two that we can link the two with is the cross-section elevations, and you will see some certain if you have like an unmapped cross-section in FEMA terms, the elevation won't be shown anywhere on the map, so there might be some confusion. And the reason is if you look at this cross-section line tab, chances are like these guys, it says not letters, not mapped. All right, so I think that's the nutshell of it. The labels on the map comes from this water surface regulatory column from the spatial layer. And now one additional thing I want to mention is that this is regulatory because this is the elevation of the 1% event, and usually there are like 5 or 6 events modeled. So if you're interested in those elevations of the additional events, and that's why it's recommended if when you're downloading the spatial data, if you have the option to download either shapefile or database, you download the database because there's the relationship class defined in the database between the cross-section layer and if there's an additional table which is called the L cross-section elevation table. So this is where all the additional events are stored. Let me add this one in. So 0.2%, 10%, 4%, so on and so forth. The advantage of the database is due to the relationship class. When you ID a cross-section, you have all the associated entity information, displayed all at your fingertips. Like I can drill down to a cross-section elevation table here, and then these are all the events associated with this particular cross-section I just identified, and click on this guy so I can see that for 1%, 1% here, the elevation is this, and then for 0.2%, the elevation, water surface elevation is this, 2% is this, so on and so forth. So what if you happen to get the shapefiles? I recommend just download the database version. If for some reason it is not available, what you can do potentially two things. First, you can ID a cross section, like in this case, and then pay attention to the cross section line ID field, and then this is a key that links the cross section table with the L cross section elevation table. What you can do is to find this ID in the corresponding L cross section elevation table. Query like this. And you should have either 5 or 6, depending on how many events are modeled, and then you can get it this way. This is a little cumbersome if you're interested in a large number of cross sections. You want to look through them quickly. Obviously, this is not very quick. So if that's the situation, you cannot get the database. But you only have the shapefile and then the DBase table. What I would recommend is just create a geodatabase. Anything, don't worry about projection and whatnot. And just load the shapefile into the database, load the database table into the database. You can just quickly create a relationship class yourself, right? Just make sure you use the cross-section line ID field to link the two, and then you can ID the cross-section layer in the database. It will be essentially the same as you downloaded a database version in that regard. So hopefully this answers the question for you.